What up? How's everyone doing today? It's Saturday and
Saturday.
we're together on a Saturday.
Rare.
Rare
Big
occasion.
Big rare.
Big rare. Yeah, there's not like we don't have like a huge plan. We didn't have really any builds are like lined up. So I figured we just we had a bunch of like Chorin that we had to do. So we figured we might as well do that and stream it and just hang out and talk and have a good time.
Chill and vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's I have a couple like ideas of the future. And I'm like, oh, I want to do, like I've been mapping out some rebuilds of boards that I have, and a joint stream on a Saturday. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was just kind of like, okay, well, I want to rebuild this, and I've been kind of mapping out what I've been wanting to do and experimenting with a couple different switches and springs, and trying not to swap every single thing to a 69 gram symmetrical, but it's going to be like at least 4 builds of mine that have those springs.
Dude, yeah, I'm like symmetric springs stan now. I'm using them today. Today I'm lubing up some hippos, some hippo linears from Kinetic Labs. You put 150 gram springs. I'm trying 58 gram symmetric springs in mine. Quite polar opposite of weighting, but yeah. So that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna lube these up. I got my little dishes to do all my separating. What about you, Dave? What are you doing?
So for those who missed my stream last week and then missed me talking about it, during the week, my Bakaneko build turned out poorly. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but I am building T1 holy T1s. So putting Halo clear stems in a T1 housing, and I'm going to be actually using the 74 gram novel keys springs on these, mainly because one, I don't have the symmetric springs on me, but also I still really like 74 gram novel key springs. They have that nice kind of heavier feel to them. It's not going to be quite as snappy, but I don't want every single board to be the most snappy thing in the world. And these also they also fit in the Bakaneko. So, as opposed to Neapolitans, that while I still, the cap situation, that's a whole nother story. But the fitting just in the plate is concerning. Like I can, like just on my lube station, which shout out to a person named Shocks who made these for us. So there's, come on, focus on, nope, there we go. So there's the T1 next to a Neapolitan, and then when I turn it over, it just falls right out. So
Damn.
They're like not big enough, making them easy to put in certain plates. So like if you have a build where the plate's pretty tight, I highly suggest testing, like especially if you're streaming it, testing a few switches in the plate to know how difficult it's going to be. But these require something of at least a tighter plate. Like the tighter plates that I know are Blind Assassin usually has pretty tight plates, everything he does, and Key Colt has really tight plates. So if you're putting Neapolitans in a Key Colt, you probably have a little more luck. But I would still test the keycap situation, because that's a whole nother problem that I hope gets addressed, at least from Texie.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the story that Tyson made of his with the GMK set, and like I think his were salmons, not Neapolitans.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm putting these springs in here. They're literally getting chucked.
Okay. Yeah, and I've got, so we're just lubing them up with 3204. The the stems already have some lube on it, and they've just been sitting in this bag, like slowly bag lubing themselves. So I've got my Halo stems kind of pseudo lubing, so I'm just going to be hitting the housings, ditching the springs and the stems from these. Although honestly, at a stock switch, the T1s are pretty solid. I would still probably choose I think that stock sounding, I think the Anubis switch is a little bit better sounding, but like these led to the Anubis switch for us. Like the enjoyment of these, it was taking something good and trying to perfect it. So yeah, we're just chilling. What is everyone else up to?
I'm also messing around with the Carbon GS2 grease on these. I haven't used this really before. I messed around with GS1 a little bit on some stuff, and I liked it. And I've heard some people are pretty big fans of it, so keep noobs trying to get out of bed, but our fans too good. Static gauge on the symmetrical springs as well. I feel like they just make, if you're someone who likes specifically the return of a heavier spring, then symmetrical springs are just or symmetric springs, not symmetrical, are just the way to go.
Yeah, I was definitely like, I did not believe that I would like them at all, to the point where Kinetic Labs hit us up and they go, hey, I've got these springs I want to try, and these are the weights. And I even said, don't send them to me. Like, I don't want to try a lighter spring. And boy, now I'm still not a fan of the 63.5. I just think that's still a little too light. Now, which is ironic because I like them in the salmon switches, but maybe just for that, and then the Neapolitans are fine, but specifically in that switch, I don't think it's that bad. But if you're trying to put them in something else that might have a higher tactility bump, the 69, in my opinion, is the way to go. But yeah, I stand corrected on them. I think they are fantastic. I put them in, one thing I'm really excited for. So Nipsey Bryant 1, hello, is I put them in I have just a handful of the U4T Bobas.
Yeah.
The all black switches. And man, do I like, I'm putting these in my polycarb Baca because they sound really good. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan. I think that's gonna be a fun, loud, because it's like, it's a polycarb board. I need a loud switch to help just blow the eardrums out of
to be myself. As aggressive as possible.
You got to.
I'm gonna use these hippos. So I have 2 Baca Neko PCBs and I have a polycarb plate, like from KBD fans. So I'm actually gonna use these in that with my Baca Neko solderable PCB, just to have something to throw in when I'm not testing something, and have that board be usable, because I do really enjoy it. And I'm also excited to use it in with a little bit different layout as well, being able to do a solderable build.
I need to give you my hot swap PCB because I don't ever really plan on using it.
Yeah. Although I don't think I need to, but sure.
But you can store it in your handy dandy case that the Baca Neko 60 comes with.
True. Static Gauge is planning to use the U4Ts in his polycarb Baca as well.
Hell yeah, dude. Twin boards.
Dude, I will say I love the color of the hippo switches.
Oh yeah, that like lavender, but it's like light lavender. Switch Witch Tanya or Tanja, thank you for the raid.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, welcome. We're doing something a little different on a Saturday stream. Neither of us really have anything to build. Well, we eventually do.
Yeah.
We're like, but why don't we just kick it, hang out, and
Just chill.
prep some, take the annoyance out of sitting here lubing quietly.
Yeah. Although I could have lubed while watching Overwatch League last night.
Yeah.
But because the game, dude, Overwatch League games, there was 3 matches yesterday. And the matches started at 8 p.m. our time and they finished at 2:30 in the morning. It was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
All of the series except for the very last one.
I think I missed the Neapolitan comments, but I just put some in the Jelly Epoch and like them. Nice not having to be paranoid about leaf issues. Anubis switches come today. Hell yeah. I mean, like I said, the only comments were if the plate is already a little loose, you might have issues putting them in, but the current problems or the more impending issue is the keycap fitment. Because we used to be worried about the stems being too big, and now they're almost too small.
Too small, dude. I wonder if it's like certain batches are worse than others. Because it seemed to not be a super consistent issue.
Because I have salmons on my, and I'll pull it out on my Saturn 60 with SA, and I mean, that thing has a fucking handle you can carry with it, which you'd think that would be the worst fucking board to have the salmon switches on. Yeah, it could just be batches, because now granted, these Neapolitans were one of the first runs because Upas sent them to me like immediately, but who knows? Hopefully, I know Upas will at least be addressing the issue.
Oh yeah. I think some of these are lubed with 204.
I left the Key Cold stream because I went first to 10th in a marbles raffle. Big Sag.
Unlucky. Yeah, dude, the Key Cult guys are doing like I feel like it was kind of a surprise. I hadn't seen anything on it. They did like they're doing like a surprise like 24-hour stream.
Hell yeah.
Lots of giveaways. They're giving away like 10 boards. Pretty nuts. Pretty nuts.
Well, I guess then it's only suiting that I'm literally been using my Key Colt all week.
Yeah.
Well, since I guess Tuesday night. But that is one of the boards on the chopping block of getting rebuilt.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I'm gonna have Lang do something fun with the weight and with the yacht tops destroying themselves, because these are like I'd say probably 40 of them are from like literally the original time I made Anubis switches. They're starting to go.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to basically ditch all the tops. I still got like 25 bottoms, so hopefully I don't destroy more than 25 of the bottoms and desoldering and removing from the plate. But I'm gonna try it with the 69 gram symmetric spring as well as the Anubis tops for safety.
There you go. That should be fun.
Yeah, so excited to get that rebuilt. I also think I'm gonna be putting Ursa on the PC Baka. Because I've got like 3 really good white sets. 2 of them, one's coming in about a month, and then 2 right now with Ursa and Botanical I have and I love. But I've also got Modern Dolch Light on its way.
Yeah, did you see I think some people in Europe are getting it right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen the pictures, but I assumed because it shipped at the end of last month.
Dude,
which makes sense that people are starting to get them, at least in the EU.
I saw one picture of it this morning on Reddit, and people were already getting their fucking pitchforks out about colors. And the dude was like, it was a quick, phone picture. Like,
calm down.
It's not real. Like, it's not true to life in terms of like the coloring and everything. People were like, oh, it's way darker than I had expected. Colors are way more saturated. And I'm like, it's a phone. Phones typically make pictures
going to saturate. I kind of want to look this up.
Super saturated.
This is like half the reason I unsubbed from mechanical keyboards.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Ooh, boy howdy.
Boy howdy.
Iv_O. Thank you for the follow. It was, I think, this morning. I still need to...
Looks fine. I mean, that picture I can tell is more blue than green, but you can also tell that, like, of the other things in the picture. And if it is more than blue than green, whatever. Use the pink then.
No, the picture I was talking about was of the pink.
Oh, well, then this one's of the blue. Let's see if I can still find it. I just searched Moto Light. Just look up.
It was on my, let me see if I can find it. It was on my home page. Oops.
Let's see.
Dude, it's so hard. So many posts now.
Yep. And they're all so many GMMK pros.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Not hating on the GMMK Pro. I have not used it. I'm sure it's totally fine.
I mean, it's just as there are
so
more.
There's so many of them.
As there's more boards that are more accessible.
Yeah.
People will tend to steer towards those. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe even it got deleted. I don't know.
Modern. Oh, okay. I think Modern Dolce arrived. There it is.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting the mods to be so dark given the name.
Yeah, people immediately getting their fucking pitchforks ready. But hey.
I hope this is a joke. Someone said GMK released an HK Gaming clone.
Oh yeah, it's gotta be. Because HK Gaming has had it for a couple months.
Looks good. Yeah. I can see how they might think, oh, it looks a little bit darker, but you can also tell that like there's just a lot of warm light in that room.
Yeah, everything looks a little bit darker. I mean, we'll see once it actually like arrives.
It's in hand.
But I'm not
excited
worried
for it. I'm excited for it, but it's gonna be kind of a weird like guessing game to me of like, I'll have Botanical Ursa and Modern Dolce Light, and I don't know what's going to go on what, but it will be between the Crown, the PC Baka, and the Key Colt.
Yeah.
And it's just going to depend on what looks best. on what, because I really like, I had the Polycarb Baka rendered with SA Ursa. And I really like how that looks. And that would leave the Key Colt with either Botanical or Modern Dolch. And then there's the, okay, well, if I put Modern Dolch on the crown, I can kind of just go, I mean, I can go crazy with the Artisans no matter what, because who fucking cares? But more Artisans will look, they'll pop a little bit more on a more neutral set.
Yeah.
With touches of color, as opposed to Botanical, where you kind of have to put them in. And Botanicals just look so good, but I don't know how it's going to match with the white on the Key Colt versus the white on the crown. And then it's like, okay, well, if those two are kind of then maybe I put Botanical on the PC Baka, because the Botanical is such a cool white.
Yeah.
That it can be potentially difficult. Other than that, I'm just excited to have a Bakaneko that's like, you know, functioning.
Yeah, that's still so sad that that's the case with the Neapolitan switches. And like I said, I hope it's just the it's just a issue with like certain batches and not like the molds.
Mm-hmm. All right, I have everything separated. Time to load into the old lube deck, which I like that these switches, because I lubed the Neapolitans in this, but they were like, if I shook, if I shook it even a little bit, they would just fall right through. And I was like, God damn it. So I had to be like excessively careful lubing, because, and then on top of that, if I lubed even too hard, I would just push it right through. So it was a fucking hassle.
Bow cables, these are Hippo linear switches. I'm putting 58 gram symmetric springs in them.
Is that planned for the Bauer, or did you say you're putting those on the Bakaneko?
This is for the
Bakaneko.
The Bauer's getting lavenders.
That's right.
The other purple.
The other purple linear. But not to be confused with the lilac linears.
Yeah, right.
The other purple linear. Did anybody get the Ayla board from Can Keys? That I think you can still get it.
Really?
Yeah, you can still add it to cart.
Interesting.
Which is dope to see, unless they only sold like 20. Then I kind of feel bad. But like, I don't know if it was capped. It doesn't say anything about cap, so
could be open. What do y'all think about the option for the Botanical Desert base kit? Wondering if the alphas are close to olive. I don't remember exactly what the color is.
It's like a light tan, like a sand.
Sometimes our Omni-type links just stops working.
So group buy starts the 15th, ends the 22nd for the Ayla. There are only a set amount available, but who knows what that set amount actually is. If I had to guess, it would be like 1,000. But who knows? I mean, it kind of just showed up. It's a solid board, or solid looking at least. It's got the seamless design, which is nice, but
Good morning.
It's cool. If you want a 75%, that I know a couple different people really like. Check it out. It's got
HRB.
the wing keyless design.
Thank you for the tier 1 for 10 months. Appreciate it, my dude. It's the same color as 9009 for the alphas for the desert base kit.
Ah.
I don't think it'll be quite as like creamy ivory color as olive.
Yeah.
I think
That's just more of a warm white versus a cool white.
Well, I think it's olive is like a cream row, whereas L9 is
that's just a base color. But it's cool. I was actually wondering what color that was going to be, because I was like, that would suck if they picked a custom color for that, because then that means they have to color match just one color, which would hold everything up.
Yeah.
So at least with L9, they can just throw it right in, right into the lineup. It's still going to take a hot minute, but you don't have to wait on color matching.
Dude, why does Google Images have to suck?
Oh, I will take down that build. HRB, that is from last week. We are just lubing today.
Yeah,
we're just catching up
chilling
on some chores. But I will adjust that.
Camping alphas with botanical mods.
Looks very nice together. I'll give it a shot. No sense in not trying it.
Sounds
Although it would look cool, might do it for some pictures, but that is committing 2 sets to one board. Two sets that I really like committing to one board.
Just finished lubing 130 Zycos. Took me 6 hours. Good lord, man. Hopefully you enjoy them.
Is it what build are you throwing the Zycos in? How many paws is that?
Is that our measurement now?
It's 34 paws.
Is paws? Is that a Mex on deck measurement?
Hell yeah, dude. Primalise and Adeli, very nice. Or Adeli.
2 different boards.
Couple 40s. I think Didi had Zycos in his Primalise and he really liked it.
Primey bestie. Oh, that's a board I would enjoy trying out. I wouldn't really know how to use it, 'cause I feel like there's a learning curve with 40s.
I would give it a shot, but the only 40s board I will own is the Baka 40.
I'm gonna laugh if you say that, and then you end up really enjoying 40% as a layout.
I can almost guarantee that I like numbers on the top row too much.
Static, you don't have to do that. I I would probably get frustrated trying to use it for the first couple days, and I wouldn't force myself. And then it would just come back to you. But I do appreciate the offer.
The other issue is the I try and abide by the simple rule of I have 2 rules in buying keyboards, which is outside of the OSA, which is my perma work board.
Dude,
if I cannot game on the board, then I will not buy it. And my number 2 rule is don't buy 65%. And it saves me a lot of money.
True.
So I won't buy HHKB style boards. 40% I can't comfortably game on. Although I guess you could say the Vanagon is that awkward in between.
You know it's funny.
I would try the Vanagon.
I remember a time when you were full HHKB.
Mm-hmm. I loved HHKB until
you were
I got
all about
super tired about it. And I liked 65% until I didn't.
Yeah, but now it's like more of a meme that you don't like.
Yeah. It's a good, if you can throw the rule in of like, oh, I just won't do this because it's this, then boom, you save money.
The meme just lined up with the 65% being super super popular.
Mm-hmm. Out of topic, but will there ever be a Win keyless or Windows key Baka in the future? Probably not. Honestly, probably not. I really like Win keyless. I think that is my favorite looking board. And I try and stick to the design language as best as I can. And so it's just not something I ever really plan on offering. And it's not, because the other thing too is at the end of the day, the Baka 60 was made almost entirely for the plate. Because of my disdain for plates that are just like so openly cut up. And I wanted something as close to the 2 boards that inspired the Baka the most were the TX60 and the Win keyless Tofu. And I loved the plate of the Win keyless Tofu, and I loved the case of the TX60. And while the Win keyless Tofu is a integrated plate, I wanted that stiffness, that feel. So like the original Baka run didn't even have 2U backspace availability. It just had the caps lock so that people could put a hot swap Sangen PCB in it.
True.
That was literally and like that doesn't affect the structural integrity of that switch. You still get it on both top and one side. Whereas when you start messing with the 2U backspace, those 2 switches suddenly become looser. And I opened it up for the second round so that people can have that. And it's mainly also because I'm like, well, I have the exact board that I want. The squid doesn't need to be the exact same board that I want. The Polycard Baka as well. So, and then I can always just go get a plate cut for it. But in terms of like the win key, I just try not to open it up, and I don't want to sell a plate that I wouldn't personally want to get slash like I don't want to have to. That's just like so many extra things. There's so many different SKUs where it's like, well, now I have to. What colors do you get? And that adds. If I'm buying 2 colors and then I have 2 tops, that's suddenly now 4 different options that I have to worry about, especially when it comes to like QC.
Right.
Because then you have to order extras to make sure you're covering your A stock B stock ratio, and it's just one of those. It's just a tough thing to get solved.
Definitely gets to be a little bit much there with the amount of SKUs.
I really want Baka, but need one key for work. Yeah, I understand. Just excited to get the 70 up and running. What were you gonna say? Symmetric springs?
No. These this little like lube tray, I enjoy this.
This?
No. The like Kinetic Labs like makeup tray.
Like the tray, yeah.
It's nice to have like a lot of space to kind of like thin out the lube off the brush, you know? Sometimes you get like a big plump.
Yeah, and I typically just use like my shorts whenever it's like too much. When key map to the one next to the space bar, alt in the corner and control instead of caps lock. Then you do split right shift and make that one FN key instead of second layer for the other keys, page up, page down, home, etc. Wait, I missed it. Did you say Kinetic Labs? We did. We are sponsored by Kinetic Labs. We are also sponsored by OmniType Project Keyboards, Canon Keys, as well as the aforementioned Kinetic Labs, as well as partnered with Type Beast, Smith & Rune, Zap Cables, and 3D Keys, and we'll hear more from them later. Hey, gang. The English gentleman. Hey, gang. I'm very new to the world of custom boards. Was wondering if you knew had any suggestions of good ISO layout TKLs. I've been looking at the GMMK Pro as it seems newbie friendly and has a volume knob. Well, the GMMK Pro isn't a TKL, but it does have basically everything a TKL has, minus a couple keys.
I don't think it supports ISO though. I thought it didn't.
Probably not. Or maybe it will in the future. I don't know. Well, let me check one thing real quick.
They do an ISO version now. I know when they first announced it, they said the ISO version would come later.
Yeah, so it doesn't look like. I was checking to see if the Devastating had ISO support, but it does not look like it does.
No.
Although the PCB has the support.
I think it's hard for us to say because we don't live in an area where ISO is supported. So a lot of the stuff that's readily in stock that isn't going to support ISO apparently. But if the GMMK Pro fits your needs, then go for it. Just know the stabs kind of suck. And yeah.
Yeah, I am kind of curious because the Devastating TKL has the PCB support for ISO, but it doesn't have any plate support for ISO. But if you are bold enough, you can cut and open that up. Make a G, hello. Now, obviously, that's a do it at your own risk, but I've heard good things about the Devastating TKL.
Yeah, and that would be a true TKL rather than a 75% masked as a TKL.
What's good, Octavius? Just doing some lubing. Eric is lubing up some
Hippo.
hippos. Some hippos, and I am lubing some T1s. Some holy T1s. Thanks for the info. Of course, man. Someone better suited to answer that question is Jay from Prototypist / Topclack. He, living out in the UK, uses ISO and would probably be a much better person and he would know a lot more boards. But if a board is kind of geared towards ISO, it's not really one that's typically on our radar.
He'll be live tomorrow, the English gentleman. He'll be live tomorrow around this same time on the channel Top Clack. If you want to go give that one a follow. He does build streams on Sundays. At least, well, Sunday mornings for us. I don't know what time it is for him, but he is a solid dude and extremely knowledgeable about what's happening because he's a vendor as well. How are your T1s coming along?
They're going. I'm putting springs in, but one of them was causing quite the issue, and then I accidentally pinched it, and now it's somewhere. Happens, but it's going. I'll probably have plenty of time to desolder the Bakaneko, which will take like 2 minutes because it's a 60% and desolder guns are life.
Yeah, true. You desoldered any vintage boards? I have not.
Personally, no. You know, we talked about this a while ago. Vent blacks, to me, at this point now, are just like not worth it. Because the reason people love vent blacks is because of how smooth they are, because they've been used so much. But there's no guarantee that the board you buy off of eBay or find at a old, computer hardware store has even been used enough to smooth them out. So you're potentially spending $40-50 on switches that are not good. And then on top of all of that, I feel like the switches have come so far now that there are just switches that you can buy and lube a little bit, and like you might be able to find some, but the effort it takes to find a really, really good set of vintage blacks is way harder than it is to just find what the like small incremental decrease, if you even want to call it that, for just buying something like lavenders at stock.
Yeah, I just think if you're harvesting Alps switches, that's a different story because that's a unique kind of thing. But for vintage blacks, there's just so much that's like really good right now. That's like just as smooth stock or with a little bit of time put into them, as well as different sound profiles. Like it's not just one type of sound that's really good now. Like you can get a deeper sound if you want them with something like this, like a hippo. You can get something a little bit brighter with like a lavender. It's a little bit more punchy. So isn't it the sunflowers and the kingfishers we're really enjoying right now?
Yeah, so I have a couple kingfishers that I tried that I liked. Those are the Texie, some Texie linears that I really like. I think they're solid. Now, Again, who knows about the stems on them, but haven't heard any complaints about those. And sunflowers are very cool because they're palm T1s. So you can if you like
right,
T1s, they're actually really fucking good switches. Like you can get them at 3D Cubes. And especially if you go get the 69 gram symmetric spring, they're just even better. They're very snappy, and then they have that nice dark sound from the palm that Davis let me try some, and I was like, damn, like these are really fucking good. So yeah, if you're looking for a good tactile, I mean, I'd still say go buy the Anubis, but I've been very happy with Kingfishers on the FR4 plate. My garbage truck, they have a nice full range of sound. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I know people are really enjoying Kingfishers. I haven't had a chance to try them quite yet. But it is cool to see, even, hopefully they figure out the stem and the switch sizing problems, but it's cool to see a new company like Texie getting involved in our segment of the market.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's so nice that like there's so many things you can go buy. Like there are 2 switches of both linear and tactile that I would easily recommend someone go buy that you can buy like right now.
Yeah.
And it used to just not be that way, especially before the holy panda craze. It was like you get Zelios and you get like that awkward time between the holy panda craze and Boxgate was like honestly the worst time for switches, because it was like you buy Zelios or Telios. Everything else is either that's when vintage really was like a huge thing, or just aftermarket holy pandas.
Yeah. It was like before the pandas came out, it was very much either you're buying Zeal switches or vintage or Gatoron yellows.
Gat yellows are just always there.
They're the constant.
Was there an issue with Kingfisher Texie stems? Yeah,
not with the Kingfishers.
Well, yeah, so far we have not seen any issues with Kingfishers.
Just on the tactiles. Which makes me think it's a mold issue.
Yeah. Yep, Gatoron Yellow is always a solid. Gatoron in general. You're not going to be unhappy. Like, it might not be the greatest thing in the world, but if you're looking for... but they're cheap, right? They're so fucking cheap.
Dude, the Gatoron Yellows are like the B of the community. Like, they're the B.
Yep. They are the... You must be this much better. And like...
The 3.0 GPA switch of the keyboard hobby. It's just good enough. You'll get into a good school. You're doing all right. You're not crazy smart, but you're good enough.
That's a question. If you could replace water as the best fluid for consumption without side effects, what would it be? Like, I guess they're saying what's your favorite drink in an interesting way, but then everybody else would have to be. I would probably say coffee, because like the 4 things I drink outside of like boba is coffee. I drink water, coffee, tea, and Coke Zero. And I don't drink Coke Zero that much.
Yeah, probably coffee. Every time I drink soda now, I like get a soda with like a meal or something, and I'll get like 2 sips in. I'm like, why? This is such a bad choice. Why did I do this?
I guess I do drink Sprite Zero, but that's basically like LaCroix, but actually flavored.
Yeah, I just don't like the fake sugar taste. I've never been a big fan of like Splenda. But probably yeah, it'd be coffee for me or whiskey. If I could enjoy whiskey, be able to drink it and not get drunk, that'd be nice. Also, that'd be kind of scary because that would mean you're. Well, I guess no. We're talking no side effects. So
Yeah.
So your liver's still
yeah.
trucking along.
Basically, you would have to drink whiskey to
live,
to hydrate yourself.
Got an ad recently.
Alcohol. That's. I'm good.
I feel like if that's the case, it still probably doesn't. It's probably not a good whiskey. Like I would only trust that if it was from like a really big distiller. That I already enjoyed the distillery.
Like Maker's Mark was like, we're gonna make
dude, not even Maker's Mark. Like it would have to be like a specialty distillery to where I know that they're not just buying it and making it. Like if it was like Lagavulin or like I don't know, someone that's like a small, not even like a Macallan.
The idea of drinking whiskey just for the flavor literally makes me sick. Because I fucking hate whiskey.
All right. Over the years, the keyboard scene has changed a lot. What year do you think had the most change? And what do you think is the cause?
2020 COVID.
I think that's the easy answer because of the amount of people. I think it's actually complicated. I think it's actually 2019. Because I feel like while 2020 had the biggest change in overall numbers, 2019 had the biggest change in the community's status of like 2019 we saw a big boom in vendors. Vendors exploded. Big boom in key sets, big changes in keyboard design. That's like kind of when we really fully adopted gasket mount. And I don't know, it felt like 2019 was the most progression. It felt like 2020 we didn't see as much progression in design and things. It just
it was 2020 was the year of trying to perfect everything 2019 made.
Right.
Which is kind of how it's always going to be, is whenever something's made, it's all right, well, how can we do that and then make it better?
Yeah.
X-Barman, I hate when people try to shame others for their drink choice. Just drink what you like. Absolutely. All I'm saying is, like, hurricanes, don't shame those people because they're drinking way more alcohol than you are with your whiskey. They're drinking like they're basically putting ethanol in their veins.
Well, they also don't realize it.
Fishbowl.
It's sweet.
Yeah, because it's sweet, so they're just like sipping it down. But no, you don't. I've never understood. Static, if you're here, I won't go into the full detailed story, but working at an elementary school, the amount of times that people have just talked to me about what I'm eating when I'm like, I'd rather you just not talk to me about what I'm eating. Like if I decide I want a salad, one day. I'm like, salad just sounds good. I enjoy salads. It's like, oh, what kind of diet are you doing since you're eating a salad? I'm like, I'm not. Like, I just like salad. And they just like want to force the conversation about dieting. But then if you have like fried chicken 2 days in a row, they're like, oh, fried chicken 2 days in a row. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think I fucking asked you. Like, I will never understand the, like, people just let people eat. Plus, you just have no idea, like, you know, what people are going through in terms of like health. Like, I read a terrible story the other day about someone was getting harassed at work about, they were like doing this big weight loss thing at their job, and the woman, the OP was saying like, I just didn't want to participate and didn't really tell anybody, and they were basically like harassing her about it until she finally stood up, and she was like, I deal with fucking bulimia, and congratulations, assholes. Like, I weighed myself the other day because I thought about trying it, and then I didn't eat anything for 2 days and threw up 2 meals, so fuck off. I'm like, and that's why you shouldn't talk about with people eating, because you just never know what is actually at hand.
Yeah, you never know someone else's struggle. One thing about these springs is that they get so damn entangled.
Yeah. Cool. T1s, lubed, put together, because 74 gram springs don't turn themselves into cobble's knot.
Well, did you lube the stems or just the housing?
No, just because the stems were sitting in this.
That's right.
Lubey bag. I don't typically lube the stems on tactiles anymore. When the Nubis Switch came out, were you guys nervous? If yes, what did you do to cope with the feeling?
I didn't really care what people thought about them. I just don't want people to like. The thing that I care more about is misinformation from people. Like, that's why we talked about that one review where the kid was saying it wasn't the Moyu Black, and it's like, it's literally a Moyu Black stem. Like, what? Like, it's not misinformation. It is what it is.
I guess the reason I don't think either of us were super concerned is it's not like we went out and created something brand new from scratch. We took pieces from, like, we got a chance to basically feel the Switch before the Switch ever came out. You're always going to have those, like, I want maybe someone close to me, like your friends or something. You want them to enjoy it, and hopefully they don't like hate it or anything. Just out of the fact that, like, hey, I hope that your hard-earned money doesn't go to waste.
Yeah.
But like the actual thing, it's like people are gonna either like it or hate it, or not like it or not like it. You can't control what people do and don't like.
Well, this is what I said to you when we first tried it, is like, I'm glad that they're not off.
Yeah.
Brian, these are hippo linears.
How many more? Do I have more stems?
Because, like, if I felt like they were awful, or Dave felt like they were awful, then it would have been a different story. Like, I think we would have been a little bit more, I think maybe would have been a little bit more nervous. But, like, the fact that we both enjoy them, I'm like, okay, cool. That's good enough for me. Like, I don't, like, no one could buy them and no one else could like them, and I would still be happy with it because
Yeah. And if we enjoy something, there's a good chance that a lot of other people will, because our preferences, while they are our own, there are only a handful of preferences you can really have in the hobby. If you have the chance to go back and change something about the Switch, the spring. I mean, the spring was something that I wasn't even a fan of, but we understood. We didn't want the spring that was chosen, but we understood why the spring was chosen.
The other piece too is that we didn't have the knowledge of the symmetric springs that we do now.
Yeah.
And I think had we have been able to try them, we probably would have at least tried to figure out a way to utilize symmetric spring. But yeah, that's the only thing.
Yeah, they came out looking great. They sound solid. They feel great with the 69 gram springs. Like there's not much about it. At stock, it's not my favorite, but you throw a solid spring in there and boom, it's suddenly up there making waves. If not, will there be more variations or a new switch expecting for the Mix on Deck team? I don't know. If we make there wouldn't be that much of a point to making a linear because like one, the seal switch already exists, right? From Mentorly. And two, there are like I feel like a lot of the Anubis switch was made so that Eric and I had another tactile we could enjoy that was also sold stock, and then or at least being able to spring swap, so like a super easy modification. We have discussed potentially changing if a second run of Anubis happens, which basically we were told, hey, if they sell out, we'll order more. And the conversation was brought up of, hey, if it sells out, then we'll talk about changing the spring. But that's, you know, it's very dependent on like, okay, well, what springs are actually available to us? Can we get those symmetric springs or not? Because if we can't, then we'd have to try a bunch of different springs, and that could be a challenge, especially because then Eric and I would both have to agree on one, and our preferences somewhat differ. And if it's not just exactly the 69 gram symmetric, then that could be an issue. So, and then on top of all of that, it has to be approved to sell by Upas from Cannon Keys. So there's just a lot going into it. Hi guys, just came a few minutes ago. What's the deal with those springs? The 69 gram springs, the symmetric springs? Well, Eric, I've talked a lot. You talk about 69 gram symmetric springs.
Well, I think he's asking about the ones I'm.
Oh yeah.
These are 58 gram symmetric springs. It's just basically a long spring. It's a 2-stage. So spring's always under a higher load. Like, because you have spring rate and then you have like the, what is it? The ratio of the spring. This has a higher ratio even though the weight is the same. It's like, I don't know. I think I was about to get into like a whole like car equivalence of this, but like with a suspension. But a lot of people wouldn't understand that, so I won't get into that. But basically, the spring rate is higher because the spring itself is longer, and it's under a higher like initial load. So that's why it doesn't feel heavier, but the return is much faster. Because the spring is always trying to depress itself. It's literally a
longer spring may still bottom out at say 69 grams, but instead of starting out at 50 grams, it starts around 60, so you have less of a delta.
Yeah.
There it is. This.
I would assume also if you looked at it from like an actual like force curve, this would probably have a little bit more of an even. These springs have a more even force curve because of that. So the Anubis switch came out because you wanted to make a tactile switch you'd actually enjoy using. Love it. Yeah, I think it was more of like Zycos don't really like. Obviously, Zycos are great, but they don't like actually work. Like fundamentally, they shouldn't work, and they break over time. So I was like trying to make something that wasn't exactly like a Zyko, but would have a similar feel, and also still sound good, but also sound a little bit unique. So. Right. You're muted, by the way.
So plus, it's also just cool to make a switch. And on top of that,
true.
And trying to make a good switch, we also kind of inadvertently helped fix some Zyko problems. So,
true.
Win-win. All right, real quick. Bakaneko, and I'm going to Bakaneko.
That sucks.
Yep. It'd be like that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 switch.
How that happened? It's because of the stems.
The stems on these, and that was no pressure. So if I 2 pass-throughs, more have come off. I'm just dragging my hand across. So the stems are just not
good old Neapolitan switches, unfortunately.
Yeah. You know, it makes them really easy to remove caps with a switch puller or a keycap puller.
You just go aggressive and just shake them. Are the hippo switches good? I enjoy them. I think they're good. They're much darker than like a lavender. What do you think, Chewy? You've been using them in your.
I mean, they sound good and they are smooth. I'm not the best person to ask because
you also have 150 gram springs in yours.
Gram
That's
springs.
True.
They're really cool. Like this is in. They're not super duper loud, but granted, this is a stacked acrylic board. But like they feel good. They feel really smooth. The Oompa Loompa stem does a good job. I lube these with 205 grade 0. Pretty heavily because, well, it's 150 gram spring, so I can go ham without repercussion. But yeah, it's I need to put it's a solid feeling switch. I mean, even without the 150 grams, I think I would recommend lavenders first.
Depends on what you like.
But if you like a darker sound, like a much darker, maybe quieter sound, I think I'd go hippos.
They've got the Oompa Loompa stems. They're super smooth. I'm lubing them with GS2.
Smooth boys.
Right now, Brian. They feel good.
Stanky stiff, ask away, by all means. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab my Saturn and test those stems.
Okay. But yeah, I think if you like a brighter, more clicky, I guess, a higher pitched sound to your boards, The lavenders are definitely for you. If you like something that's a little bit deeper, a little bit darker, hippos are definitely the way to go.
So, nothing.
Yeah.
One came up. All right, so we got one. So a few are coming up, but you shouldn't be dragging your fingers hard across the board.
So that's the salmon, right?
These are salmons, yes. Now, the real question is, can you feel it while typing? Because on this, you absolutely could. All right, I missed 2 keys, and they're both down.
That bowl of stems looks like uncooked rice. It really does. Very, very like extra ultra long grain thick boy rice. Danny Pop, what up? Jonas GC, thank you for the follow.
Yeah, they don't feel like they're going to fall off. And the other thing is, at least these stay on. But granted, this is SA.
Right.
So,
which notoriously have a slightly smaller interior stem profile.
Yeah, so it's like these got destroyed by the box switches. So these, if you're using them and you want to put SA, I don't think you have anything to worry about. But with GMK, that's, a whole nother story.
I also kind of like the fact that the hippos are Gatoron switch.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see Gatoron doing some different things, keeping up with the trends of the community. They kind of always do their own thing sometimes. Like what was it? The cap switches.
Yeah. I was getting nervous trying to remove the plate from the Bakaneko. So I'm like, jeez.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to snap it off. I am going to go to mute, but do you guys listen to Joe Rogan podcast, or are you aware of it? Aware of it, do not listen to.
I look at clips every once in a while if he has someone on that I enjoy and it shows up in my YouTube recommended, but I'm not actively pursuing the Joe Rogan podcast. But then again, I also don't actively pursue really any podcasts, especially non-keyboard related ones. I think I don't really listen to anything that's non-keyboard related or Overwatch related. Those are the only two styles of podcasts I'm listening to. Yo, Shanghai. Dude, Panda Power, man. Chengdu. I need my boy Leave and Jinmu. Come out, dominate tonight. Come out, dominate tonight, and take home the Summer Showdown trophy. Even though it's not a trophy and you get $100,000. Leave won't be able to carry hard enough. I don't know, man. We'll see. The thing is if Jinmu steps up, I don't know if Leave will have to carry. What keyboard is that? That is a Baka 60. It's the original run. Mine is Cerakoted in OD green. And that has GMK olive with Anubis switches in it. Is OW1 done with releasing new characters? Yeah, Echo was the last new character. That was last year. It's been about a year since we've gotten a new hero, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
If Joe Rogan asked to have someone in the Keeb community be interviewed regarding Keebs, who do you think would best represent the community?
I think that's an interesting question because you have to consider someone who will be able to handle Joe Rogan. Like, it's not... like, there are certain people that would not be able to handle that type of an interview.
I would watch Joe Rogan interview Lang, but I don't know if Lang's necessarily the best person to put this foot. It would be entertaining, that's for sure.
There would not be very much talk about keyboards if that was the case.
That would get sidetracked quickly. I don't know. I would probably say, like, I don't know. In my opinion, it would need to be like a vendor, because you would need someone that has both sides. Like, not a lot of people understand that side of the hobby, being a vendor. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know who. If I had to choose like a content creator, other than I guess ourselves, I would probably pick Apiary. I think she's kind of the most like centered, middle of the road person in regards to she enjoys the high quality. She enjoys the more beginner boards, and she's just good at what she does.
I don't think Norbauer would be good. I think he's fantastic. He's an incredible person to have on a show, but I don't know how that would go with Joe. Joe Rogan's kind of a polarizing person. And Brian brings up a good point. Flip side, vendors are too busy to be enthusiasts. They know about the workings, but they don't know about the actual like day-to-day as much.
Yeah. Because
they don't have time to look at everything as a whole. Whereas someone like, I think either Apiary or Odos would be two good ones.
Mm-hmm.
I just totally knocked off that spring. Didn't realize I did that. Black slime. That would be interesting. Although granted, I don't watch enough of his content to, like, know what is done. He streams like he's EU, so he streams like in the middle of the day for me. I will say these hippos with just a little bit of lube was in like Dubai. I more meant like he streams EU times. Sorry, I didn't mean he's like physically there. I meant more of like the time frame. He streams like in the middle of the day for me. I have no idea where he physically is. I don't know where he physically lives at. It's kind of sick though. He's apparently in Dubai. There's just like supercars just abandoned on the side of the street. People get like loans for like supercars, for like Lambos and McLarens, and then they just like leave them on the side of the road because they can't pay them, and then they just dip. You okay over there, Dave?
Yeah, I'm just trying to. There's a small blockage, so I'm just gonna give it a moment, let it heat up a little bit. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think, yeah, back to that question. I just don't think there's one person that could come out and be like, I know if. Let me tell you, it would have to be multiple people to fill in the blanks because I mean, that's kind of with every hobby, right? You can't have one person
I think
go in and be like, it's got to, are you going to be able to tell me? It's like, well, I can tell you as someone who just enjoys the hobby, but the vendor aspect side of it is a whole nother.
I was more thinking of it as what would be an entertaining podcast, not what someone who's going to share the most or know the most, like what is going to be a quality podcast, someone who's going to be able to play off of that personality, which I think would be more important than just like who's the most knowledgeable. That's why I was thinking like either AP or Yotos, because I know that they can both play off of someone that's as polarizing as and why Lang would be super entertaining, but it wouldn't get anything done.
Isn't Joe kind of a tool? Yeah, he's the like classic, like, I'm not afraid to go there.
He has some interesting views. Just like anyone though, so there's things that you see and you're like, I could see that. And then there's things that you see and you're like, what the hell's going on with that dude?
Lang would never go on his podcast. Oh yeah, it would be a minute. Lang would sooner have a discussion with Zoe Deschanel than talk to Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Did you get all blocked up there, bud? Are you experiencing desolder constipation?
I am. It is. Still just hold up.
Sometimes it'd be like that.
It's the only bad part about desolder guns is they do take quite a bit of maintenance.
Yeah. There's also like, while they're easy, there's also like a technique to using a desolder gun. Where you can very easily destroy the gun and or your board and or switches by not using it correctly.
There we go. It's starting to clear out. Just takes a little finagling.
You know, I will say we're doing a lot better than some of the other streams that have done lube streams. I know when Basic she had like a 6-hour stream where she lubed like 5 switches. We're like an hour and a half in. I'm almost done with 30. Done 60 bottoms, 30 tops. One thing I like about lubing linears is I'm perfectly okay with getting some lube on the legs.
Yep.
So it's, you don't have to be as careful. I'm also going super light with this. If you're watching in chat, these switches are pretty smooth from stock. So I'm just giving them a little brush up.
Just enough.
Just a little bit. Little
bits.
Have you watched the new season at all?
No, I haven't gotten to it. I've been I usually, with Rick and Morty, I typically wait to watch the whole season and just kind of binge it
in one go.
Yeah. I've heard mixed reviews, but every show is just like that. If it's not like you watch a show 4 or 5 times through, especially with like Rick and Morty, you can watch the first 3 seasons in like a day. So many people watch those first 3 seasons that it's like you were never going to be happy with anything new, because if it's not exactly the same and they take any amount of like liberty of changing, then people are going to hate it. And I just think there's less this like desire for people to just like, hey, just open up and like enjoy it. And that it might be a little bit different, but it doesn't have to be the greatest thing ever. There we go. Let me mute.
Sounds like you got it going. Taco Game, what is up? How was your Saturday? What are people stoked for right now in keyboards? What are some things that are coming out kind of in the middle of the month? What are some, we just had what was payday for a lot of people. Is there any sets that y'all are picking up? Anything you're looking forward to in August? Any group buys later this month that you're looking forward to? Sunny and cold as fuck, strange but enjoyable. Nice. There you go. Chudy's camera so beautifully has the Saturn 60 in focus right now. Want Duroc T1s. Be first tactile I try. Problem is monies. Yeah. You just save up some monies. Get some. Any thoughts on the Icky or a Stargaze board? Neither Dave or I have messed around with the Icky 68, but I have heard on very good authority from multiple people that it's a great board, and I think the Stargaze looks pretty freaking sweet looking.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. I think it looks great. I won't get it because 65%, but I love that they're doing that now, that more and more, like we've seen novel keys do this. kind of with like the milkshake.
Yeah, it's like a full kit.
The full kit. I like that.
Sadly, the lead time for GMK makes me a lot less excited for any sets right now. I feel like you're not out of the norm there. I think a lot of people are kind of in that same boat where they're looking at it and they're like, do I really want to wait a year and a half, 2 years almost for a set? What am I making? I am lubing up some Gatoron Hippo linear switches, and Dave is desoldering a keyboard. We're just chorin.
Just prepping stuff for the future. By the way, for those who don't know, if you own a desolder gun, like 80% of the problems can be fixed by putting that bitch on maximum and letting it sit for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Also, change out your filters because that will also be a huge help.
Yeah, the filters get gunked up quite a bit. And don't forget to clean it out after every use. Or every couple uses. You don't want it to get to the point where it's spitting solder back out of the tip, because that will happen. There's nothing worse than when it like sucks it up and then you go to move it and then just like it farts the solder back out.
I love forgetting about my group buys until delivery. Absolutely, man. It's GMK Daisy. That'll just show up one day.
Yeah.
In like 2 years.
The thing is when you forget about them and you move, then all of a sudden something you were supposed to get shows up at someone else's house. That's the worst. I really like this Carbon GS2. It's nice.
Hell yeah.
Nice and thin. Nice and easy to get on there and not overdo it. Sometimes when you lube linears with 205 grade 0, they get a little mushy and slow. I feel like you almost have to like work it in a little bit. Not this. This is nice. Nice. How you doing over there, Dave?
I'm good. I got a couple that just need to get hit with the desolder a little bit more. Got some. I'd rather not rip the fucking pads out of this one, so they're just a little bit of solder, enough to be like, hey, fuck you, I'm not being removed.
My Uber Eats driver dropped off my food to my neighbors this morning. Did your neighbors at least be good neighbors and give it to you, or did they just take it and eat it? Did they yoink your food? I'd be pretty upset if I saw that it went to my neighbor's house and then they didn't like say something. Although I guess if it's Uber Eats, it's not like it has your name on it, so they don't necessarily know where it's supposed to go. be like that one time I had ordered pizza and the guy left it. He couldn't figure out the gate code, and instead of like calling me, he just left it sitting on the side of the street in front of the gate. What a fantastic door dasher. It was a door drop-off thingy, so I had to look for the food. Walking around my neighbors. I actually have a little sticker on the bag with my name. Oh, nice. To be fair, who's going to be brave enough to take street? I mean, true. But at the same time, like, I don't want my pizza that I'm about to try to consume to be on the ground, you know? Even if it's in a box, I don't. I'm also like paying someone to like a fee to deliver it. Like I'm paying more for them to deliver it to me as well as tipping them. Like,
no, I get it. It's like the guy the other day that I was like, I know what you're trying to fucking do. Because we have our groceries delivered, and he's like, you need to come down. He kept saying, no, come down. I'm like, no, like part of the payment is you delivering it to my door. I'm not helping you do your job while also paying you.
Well, it's like what I was saying with the similar situation with when it's raining and they're like, oh, can you just come out to my car and get it? I'm like,
cool. You give me all the money I tipped you, and sure.
Yeah, like, this isn't a drop off, curbside service. I'm paying you for you to come to my door.
I was a DoorDash driver for a minute, and let me tell you, it's easy. I will never understand how people will be so dumb. I'm like, it is like the easiest goddamn job.
See, the thing that makes no sense to me about the people who don't want to deliver in a storm is that you literally choose when to work. Like you can just opt out of shifts and stuff and opt in at any point. Like you control that shit.
Yep.
Like if you don't want to get wet, that's fine. But
don't work.
Don't work. That'd be like if your waitress was like, nah, you gotta walk back to the kitchen and grab it. Like you go to Chili's and they're like, no, you gotta go grab the food off the line.
Yeah, go grab it from the line. It's right there. That's like, it's really goofy to me tipping 20% at a buffet.
Yeah.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Because they're getting you drinks. In some buffets, you literally get your own drinks. So I'm like, I don't, like, what do I tip? The person asked, what do I want? And I said, I'm getting the buffet. And suddenly, and especially if you go to like a nicer buffet, I'm like, well, if the buffet's like $40, I don't know if I want to tip you $8 for getting me 2 glasses of water, but like, I don't want to be an asshole. So that's an awkward situation to be in.
I mean, they could definitely make the experience though. Like if every time you get up to go get more food, you come back, you got a fresh orange juice, you got a fresh drink, they take your plate, but they take your silverware, but then they give you new silverware like every time. Like it could totally be.
Yeah, you can do it great, but I'm never, not many places that are like that.
Yeah. I think it's also different if are they a buffet always, or are they a restaurant that has a buffet on like Sunday brunch?
Well. Yeah.
Like, because there's a lot of restaurants that do that where it's like they have a Sunday brunch buffet, but they're still like a normal restaurant, which I feel like is a different scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like Furs, that's like a different scenario.
Mm-hmm. Like, what's that place over by Guitar Center?
Furs.
Is that Furs?
Or you're talking about the Asian one?
No, I'm talking about the American one.
It was Furs. It's gone now. Now it's like a
Okay.
gaming bistro where you can like get drunk and throw axes.
Yeah, but that one literally you got your own drinks and there was a place to put your old dishes. So it's like
But it was like going to Denny's.
But I don't actually know if they even had waiters. I think that was just like they did. I went there once and with good old Preston, and well, needless to say, I noped out. I never went back. That was one of the biggest regrets of a meal that I've ever had while having to go back to work and feeling like I was going to die.
Dude, not to mention
the time we went to the Jamaican place.
Oh, that Jamaican place is good. You just got the wrong thing, I think.
I got the absolute worst thing I could have.
The thing about where that Furs was is that the Asian buffet, King buffet or whatever, that was right behind it was like actually good.
It was actually really fucking good.
And it was like, why would you ever go to Furs if you could just go there?
But anyone going to buffets these days? No, not at all.
But yeah, that Furs closed, and it's now a Corky's Gaming Bistro where you can get food and throw axes. Sounds
every time I've ever been invited to throw axes, I'm like, no, because it's not. The problem with that is, of course, they make you sign waivers that like we're not at fault,
right?
And I wouldn't be concerned with me. I'm concerned with the other people, because I watched a video the other day of a woman who threw an axe, and it just, the way it happened, right? It bounced off the wall and came flying back. And I'm like, what if you're just an innocent bystander that's not even a part of it, and you walk by it, and then now you have an axe in your foot, and then you don't get to sue anyone. Your life is just fucked because you went to there. So I'm like, cool, I'll take the variable, which is going there, out by never going there.
It's like, let's just go to Topgolf.
Yeah.
Like, you want to hit something, let's go to Topgolf. That's a little bit safer. Like, what's the worst that happens? I get hit in the head with a golf ball. I get a welt, you know? I still have my head. Do they teach you beforehand or just hand you the deadly weapons check? They teach you. It's like there's like a little class, but still, you're putting. And like, how often do those axes get sharpened? Because the duller they are, the more likely they're going to not actually connect. Stick in the wall.
The wall, and yeah, it's just, you don't know with people.
I mean, I'd just rather we want to play games. Let's go to like Dave and Buster's or something.
Or let's go out in the wilderness and just throw an axe at a tree by myself. Like,
it's way cheaper.
That's why, like, you know, if I ever own a big piece of land, I think a really fun hobby would be archery.
Oh yeah.
Because it's expensive at first because you have to buy the stuff. But then as long as you take care of your arrows, you don't have to, it's not like a gun range, right? Where once you shoot the shot, well then boom, that bullet's gone forever.
Aren't archery arrows like that the actual head of the arrow is replaceable too? So like even if that breaks,
you can replace the head, you can replace the tips, like you can, and if you're smart about it, you know how to use it, and then as long as the bow's in good shape, like it's just one of those things where it's a little expensive at first, but then it's kind of like buying a basketball hoop and a basketball. Once you buy it,
you're good.
You're good. You got everything. I think I'm done. I have desoldered my Neapolitans, which I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I might test them with the polycap, the black on white set that we're gonna do with the giveaway with eventually.
Yeah.
I might throw them on something and then put those caps on these to see if it's as bad, because this might be a good switch for that build, just because if I can build it and have it solidly built, then there's potential for it. Plus, when the upcoming zombie apocalypse comes, you'll be ready to do some work. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna finish these last couple stems. That'd be good to go. I don't know if you want to find someone to.
Yeah, I'll start looking, but I would like to first give a shout out to our awesome sponsors. You can check out Omnitype GMK Botanical Round 2 running right now. Be sure to check that out. Lots of round 2s. Project Keyboards. You can go to mexondeck.project.link. Check out Bingsu Round 2 with some really good options over there as well. You can go to candykeys.com/mexondeck and check out the Anubis switches. GMK Foundation running right now. The Icky 68 or Aurora Stargaze is running right now. The Aella keyboard is running right now. Lots of cool stuff over there. As well as Kinetic Labs. You can go to kineticlabs.store/mexondeck. The springs and the switches that Eric's been lubing this whole time are for sale on this site. And if you did pick up some Anubis switches and you're wanting to unlock the full potential of them, go check out the symmetric long springs. They have them at 53, 58, 63. The 63.5 are out of stock, but 53, 58, and 69 grams are all in stock. So go check that out. We also have some awesome partners. We have Zap Cables, who I know is gearing up for another run of bumpers soon. And for those who don't know, that's a bumper. It's kind of the sleeper board of my entire collection. It's a fantastic board, but they've also got DIY cable kits and stuff to make cables. They've got really cool desk mats. Plus Zap is just honestly one of the most genuinely awesome people in this hobby. We've got Tight Beast. Sign up for their newsletter. It's a great newsletter. It's a great read. There's really no point in not signing up for it if you want to stay in tune with the hobby. Smith & Rune, you can go to smithrune.com. The Iron 165 and Iron 180 boards, the extras eventually will go up on there, as well as the Iron 165 Polycarb edition will be released later this year on their site, so be sure to check that out. And then last but not least, 3D Keebs. They've got lots of stuff there. The lube that I did for the springs on my lube switches was the Krytox 105 oil. They've also got some other lubes over there, as well as some really good switches. So just go check out that. They've got, I'm trying to see if they have, looks like they don't have the U4Ts at the moment, but I know she's going to get them restocked soon. So be sure to check all of that out. Let's see. I never actually...
Playing has a question. I haven't, but have you tried the Anubis switches with SA yet?
No.
So no, like we have not. Also, I'm yawning while I am still drinking my coffee.
Is there... Should I guess is the question.
Is it is it good? My
spacebar won't return. Well, I can check that really fast. Hold on.
Did you use the stock springs?
Yeah, I was about to say, never mind, because that's a stock spring.
Don't know if it's me. I think it could be the spring weight.
I'm curious. The
bump might be too much for the weight.
I'll check it with I have my Baka over there, and I can check that, but I'll message you and we can reconvene. So guys, this Tuesday we have our normal stream at 8 p.m. Central Time, and so be sure, if you're posting keyboard of the month and keyboard of the week, and this month's theme is whatever you want it to be, just post a picture of a keyboard. So be sure to check that out. And then Neflock will be joining us, and we're going to talk to him about not only Metropolis and Kaiju and running the round 2 of Metropolis, but the fact that he now works so closely with Novel Keys. So it'll be fun to have him on. That will be Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central. And Eric and I haven't discussed who's building next week, but we'll figure that out and check the announcement for tomorrow. And I think we're just going to raid Key Cult.
Yeah, they're doing their surprise 12-hour stream or 24-hour stream. Yep. But yeah. So come hang out. We'll be back again on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central. We're going to be closing up shop tonight. We'll see you again on Tuesday. Bye-bye.